Okay, we're ready to mount the positioner now, and essentially we need some tools. We need a 5mm key. We will need a 3mm key, and a 3/16 and a 5/32. So we get these tools. Then we need the bracket. Here's the bracket, and I'm going to explain in a second the orientation of this bracket. We also need the bushing or assembly. This will hold the magnetic array, and here is the magnetic array. And I'm going to explain also how we're going to line this up. It's very simple. Okay, so we're ready to mount the bracket, and so first of all, this feature on the bracket dictates the orientation of the positioner. These dog ears will always point where the gauges are on the positioner. So if I put the bracket in this orientation, the position will be as such. If I put the bracket in this orientation, then the positioner will be installed as such. Obviously, the preferred method and the recommended method is to always make sure that the vent on the positioner is facing downward. Otherwise, water accumulation could go into the pneumatic section of the positioner, especially if air is turned off. So in this case, we want the positioner to be oriented like this, which means we're going to install the bracket. And I'm going to be using the Allen key over here. Using a 3/16 one. Got to make sure that this is all snug. And first, just snug it in, and then tighten the screws appropriately. There you go. So the bracket is installed. Now I can put the bushing for the magnet. So this holds the magnet in place. And you can see in the back there's a slotted feature on it that will go into the slotted feature of the end of the shaft. So simply, first we're going to take the screw that will hold it in. I'm going to just drop it inside. And in this case, I'm going to take the other Allen key, the 5/32. There you go. And I'm going to tighten down this bushing onto the shaft of the actuator. Okay, now I'm ready to put the magnet. So as you can see, this magnetic array has two very powerful magnets that we're going to have to put in the proper orientation. So first part is simply to slide it in. Okay. And there's two adjustments that needs to be done. One will be the orientation of these magnets, and second will be the depth. Okay. So let's start first with the depth. So I'm just going to rotate the valve like this. The theory is quite simple. You simply pull the magnetic array, and you take something that's flat and you make it so that it's flush with the bracket. That's part one. So now that the face of the magnetic array is flush with the bracket, I'm going to rotate this back to position. Now we need to adjust the orientation of those two magnets. So these two magnets, if I were to put something that goes across them, I need to put them in a 12/6 o'clock position. So I'm going to simply adjust this so that it's roughly 12 and 6 o'clock. And that is it. The manual does show clearly the orientation of those magnets for a valve that has less than 60-degree travel and for valves that have 90-degree travel. So in this case, again, the two magnets are going to be adjusted such that they are 12, 6 o'clock. Okay. So then I'm going to use my 3mm Allen key to lock the two set screws. There's one on the side right here, and then there's another one 9 degree from that first one. So then I'm going to tighten down the other set screw. And once it's nice and tight, we're ready to mount the positioner. There you go. So this is the installation of the bracket and the magnet. And in summary, those two features over here on the bracket dictate the orientation of the positioner. So they have to point towards the gauges on the positioner. The magnetic array must be in the 12, 6 o'clock position and flush with the bracket. It's that easy. Now I can take the positioner and bolt it on to the actuator. I'm going to use the 5mm key. I'm going to loosely tighten those screws down just to make sure they all go in nice and easy. And then finally, simple crisscross pattern to tighten the positioner down. And finally, we need to put the tubing. The air supply goes in the back. And I'm going to tighten this down. And the output going to the actuator goes in the front. Always, like when you put like a fitting, make sure that you can, there you go. You can finger tight first to make sure you don't cross thread, and then you tighten it properly with the wrench. So the positioner is physically installed, and now we're ready to calibrate it.